Welcome, everybody. It's Thursday night. It's time for
the Chris and Joy show.
The Chris and Joy,
the Chris and Joy show.
Who gets
the Chris and Joy show?
I just said Chris and Joy.
Chris and Joy.
I said it wrong the first
all
time.
Right. Anyway, welcome everybody. It's all good to see you. Glad to see everybody safe and sound and warm. So tonight we are in the text. We're still in chapter 4. We were in chapter 4 last week. We're still in chapter 4, the root of all evil. And we're going to read part 8, creation and communication. And we're going to read paragraphs 94 through 102. So we have 9 paragraphs tonight. So I'm calling out for volunteers. Raise your hand and Joy will randomly read them off to me.
And real quick, I want to welcome Ken and Karen and Paula, who have come since I just noticed. And okay, so if you want to read, we read one paragraph at a time. Just raise your hand.
I'll read.
Oh boy. So Dennis, I'm just going to go on my screen to next to Dennis was Joe, and then Anna and Josie. And who else wants to read? Oh, Karen, yay! Karen wants to read. This is the most incredible reading tonight. It's so beautiful. So it's just a blessing to be,
I think I saw
Paula, did you have your hand up for reading? Yes. Okay, we got you. Okay. Anyone else?
This is Anna. I'm just doing a mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Loud and clear. Very good.
Excellent.
Mhm.
How many more readers do you need?
Do you know?
Can you read, Eric? That'll be 7.
I will. I just always like to allow people to get out there.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So how many do we have?
All
We
right.
had 9, right?
So, yeah,
9
we're
paragraphs?
good.
Did we have 9
You and
paragraphs?
me, you want to read?
Okay, you and me and we're done.
Yeah.
Although I go brain dead when I have a brain hiccup when it's my turn to read and I have to share. Don't understand the paragraph at all, but I understand when everybody else reads. So it's just a weird. And if you don't have anything, then you can pass. You can just like.
Yeah. How we do this is everybody reads just one paragraph at a time. The person that's reading it gets, I don't know how to first share. First, as they're reading it, they're the first ones that get to come up and say, all right, this is what it meant to me. If you don't have anything, or if you have a question or something like that, you can just pass or ask the question or give us how you felt the paragraph meant to you. So we don't tile, we don't repeat paragraphs. And I have my list here. So the next thing we do is Joy will lead us into a guided meditation.
And because it's it might be a little disruptive. What I'm going to do is, excuse me.
It's disruptive then. Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna try to share my screen. There we go. Portion screen share. Okay, there we go. Because we are putting out there, it's very important, this request. And I had one response and it was wonderful. It was full of feedbacks that were so grateful. But this is our website, and under events, you wanted that first one, ACIM Zoom. That's us. And when you click that, you may already know this, some of you, this is where you can register for, this is us tonight. And you can, where does it say register? You can register here for if you need the call information. But what I'm pointing to is, we don't have tonight's reading with the annotation, but let me show you last week's. Armando Bronze, our president who translated the Spanish, when he did it, he created, why does that look like that? Oh, I did the wrong one. Yeah. Here it is. This is a new annotated edition by Armando Bronze. He's wondering if we want to do it for the English because he did it for the Spanish, and he did footnotes, which are filled with, just like the CE, the complete and annotated edition by Robert Perry. It's filled with information from the Urtext and, from all kinds of places. It fills in things. However, well, he wants to know if it's a good idea to do for the English because he did it for the Spanish. So we'd like your feedback, and you can be so helpful. So last week's, he's, as I said, is in Madrid. He's getting some dental work done. So he couldn't do this week's, but he did last week's. Let me show you. There they are, the footnotes. Now, one feedback was to have the footnotes at the end because it's a little distractive to have them on the same page. And so that was very good feedback. He'd like to hear that kind of thing. And did they help? Was reading them worth it? Because it's going to be a big project. And in fact, if he passes and he wants that project done, I'm going to do it. Because God love him, he's like 94. But okay. So anyway, there you have it. That's last week's. If you take a peek at that, you know where to find it, right? It's under events and under our group, ACIM group. And then down here where it says new annotated edition by Armando Bronze, and then you click either one of these or both and let us know how it feels to read those footnotes. Okay, and thank you. And oops, I think I want to
Joy, I've got a question about that.
Oh, sure.
Or would you consider then going to a print edition with that, or would you keep it as an electronic edition?
Print. He printed his Spanish that way. Let me see. Here it is.
Well, I'm just imagining the size of the book by the time you do the
It's the same.
annotate. Really?
Oh yeah, this is the Spanish, and it's the same. It's not big.
Okay.
You would think it would be gigantic, but it's not. I actually did this, and there's like 3,000 footnotes. I can't believe that I formatted this book, but I think I used Adobe, but in design, but we did it. Jess and I did it.
Just as long as the footnotes are in the Reader's Digest large font division.
Oh no, you need a
large type.
glass.
All right.
In prison.
Just curious.
We send this into prisons, the Spanish, and they said, "Oh my God." They probably don't even have glasses. But they couldn't read it. Okay, thanks.
All right, so-
Thanks.
All right.
Welcome, Julia. And who left? Somebody left. Shoot.
No.
Yeah. Patty. Oh, there. Oh, Patty.
We're all here.
Okay.
All right.
Someone has her hand up.
Who'd had their hand up?
Paula has her hand up.
Hi,
Paula.
Paula.
I'm blind as a bat.
I'm in a Sunday evening Course in Miracles group, and we read from the Circle of Atonement book. It's a big book, and it has all of the footnotes in it. And we read a paragraph. Well, actually, the facilitator reads the material, and then somebody volunteers to read the footnote. And I'll tell you, the footnotes are wonderful, but I find it to be, the material itself can be very abstract and very confusing. And then when you're interrupting with the footnotes on top of that, you don't have that flow, So that's just my opinion. And God knows somebody else may love it. So
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. God knows.
Yes. I don't know anything.
Hi, Ariel. We're just getting ready to go into
Hi.
meditation. So,
Mhm.
all right.
Yep. Okay, I'm just gonna pull up the. Okay, so If there's any background noise, you might, if you know of any background noise that you have, you might want to go on to mute because we will all be in a very quiet place and any noise might be a little bit of a shock. But let's begin. We like to begin with a very short meditation. We'll be silent for 2 minutes, but first we want to relax. So we have a little bit of a guided relaxation. So we close our eyes and we bring all the awareness within. And as soon as you do this, you begin to relax. Just closing the eyes is a signal to your body that we're not going to be focusing outside anymore. You know, we're gonna go within. Usually, you know, it's a signal to go to sleep, but it can also be a signal to go within. We begin to relax the body, and you might feel some tension being released as you do this. You may not even have realized that you were holding yourself tense until you feel it release. Release, relax the torso, the arms, the legs. Relax the face muscles, the scalp. And then bring your awareness very gently to the breath. And just notice the breath. You don't try to change it in any way. We just watch it. Notice that the breath is becoming more relaxed as well. The breath follows the body. The breath relaxes as the body begins to relax. And you know, if you have a mantra, you might want to use it with the breath. You might want to think of part of it on the inhale and part of it on the exhale. There is a mantra that is, I am that. So hum. So you can say so on the inhale, or you can say I am. And exhale, hum, or that. So hum. I am that. Notice that the thoughts are fewer now. Your thoughts relax as well. They all are connected. Thoughts, breath, body. We are going to release our surface thoughts. They keep us separate. They tell us we are separate. They tell us we are alone, that we need to protect ourselves, that we're going to die. We let all of those thoughts go. We are going to open to the loving thoughts of God. To help us, we have today's lesson. And it is, God is the strength in which I trust. And Elder Brother tells us, if you are trusting your own strength, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. He tells us God is your safety in every circumstance. His voice speaks for him in all situations and in every aspect of all situations. Today, we will try to reach past your own weakness to the source of real strength. So we're going to take 2 minutes now. We could bring to mind the lesson or whatever, however you want to spend the 2 minutes, and I'll bring us out. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. When we're ready, we'll open our eyes.
Okay, we are focused. We are ready to do God's work, and we are relaxed. So, yeah. Whoa. Some of us are too relaxed. So Dennis, can you start us off with paragraph 94? It starts with, "It should be clear by now."
Sorry. Okay, creation and communication. It should be clear by now that while the content of any particular ego illusion does not matter, it is usually more helpful to correct it in a specific context. Ego illusions are quite specific, although they frequently change, and although the mind is naturally abstract, period. The mind nevertheless becomes concrete voluntarily as soon as it splits. However, only part of it splits, so only part of it is concrete. The concrete part is the same part that believes in the ego because the ego depends on the specific. It is the part that believes your existence means you are separate. I think it's hard to describe it when I have something that seems like a spiritual experience or an experience that I'm being led and told something and shown something, that it can be really amazing right when it happens. And then gradually it becomes less and less impressive. And it seems like I sort of connected up with the world. And I think that's what the ego is doing. The ego kind of gets used to the idea. And that's about as well as I can explain it. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but it also seems like the more I talk about it, the more I tell people about it, the more what I remember is talking about it rather than remembering the experience. And I think that's what it's saying. That's what I get out of this paragraph. And that's what I have to say about it.
Well, you can't share if you didn't experience it. So you're not only probably reinforcing it in your mind, but possibly exposing somebody to a new thought, a positive thought, a holy and healing thought that allows you to share those ideas, and that's how they spread. I think it references something similar later in this and tonight's reading.
Okay.
What's the reference to the concrete? Are they talking concrete like the kind
Fixed.
of concrete for your driveway? Or are they talking like you're just solid? You're just solid with the ego split. I mean, they use it. It looks like they're using it as a, what is that? Not a pronoun, but
No, it's just your mind and your beliefs get fixed.
okay. I mean, I've never seen concrete involuntarily in the
You've
same.
never been called blockheaded? I have.
Ooh, okay. I think I have my concrete answer. But yeah, oh, okay, that makes, yeah, that the one when I saw it, I thought of, the cement overshoes or whatever, or when they put somebody in
Oh,
a
yeah.
bucket of and then
Mm.
introduce them to some
Mhm.
bay or river or something. But yeah, concrete voluntarily as soon as it splits. So the mind nevertheless becomes concrete voluntarily as soon as it splits. So what is splitting, I guess? Splitting off, that makes us separate, is we stick with that?
Once you
Or-
once
or
you
the
accept being separate, the mind is split. Is that not correct, Joey? Isn't that the basic tenet?
Dennis,
I
did you?
think part of my mind, believes this world is really real. And see, I can't put my hand through that. There's another part of my mind that's with God, and it realizes that I can do anything. I could go through walls if there were walls, but there aren't any walls in that world that part of my mind lives. And that's all part of my mind, but I stay aware of my mind that's in the world. And that's what this course is trying to explain to me, is that that's not all of me. That's just a little tiny bit of me. The part that drives a car and walks and eats and all that. And I live in a world where there are very few people who believe this other world. Some people like to talk about it, but mostly people go back to this idea, and I have a tendency to go back to this idea that only what I can see and touch and experience with my senses is really real. And I live in a world where those are the rules. I mean, those are the beliefs. That's the fundamental belief in the world, right?
Right. We're all in agreement that you can't put your finger through that book. I can't shove my fist through this desk, even though the atoms in the desk and the atoms in my fist are identical.
Yeah.
They've
And
these atoms have formed to be my fist. These atoms have formed to be my desk.
Mhm.
And if we're this concrete voluntarily split off ego thing, that little piece of our mind, all of us on the call here are in agreement. I'm actually, you guys can see me and you can see my bookshelf behind me, but I'm relying on all of you to tell me that that's behind me, because right now I can't see it because my eyes are looking this way. So anytime, I think that was part of the what the bleep.
Well, I knew you were going to say that.
That's
bleep.
right.
I
It was
knew
what
what you were thinking
what the
about.
bleep, because
Yeah.
without me turning around,
Mhm.
I don't know for 100% sure, because it's an illusion. I don't know what's exactly right behind me.
But I want to say that I'm learning, this is what I'm learning, to a different way to look at experience. Everything is experience, right? Everything is experience. And where is it being experienced? Within your conscious awareness. So this world exists within your conscious awareness. Everything does. I know that is like, we put that on the back burner when we're being here, but the whole thing, it's like a virtual reality that exists in the one mind that we share too. We share this one mind. It's so amazing. And so why would I come to this virtual reality? Why would I make this virtual reality? And it's like to know myself, to know love. Because when you have two, then you can share and you can you know, you can see each other and you can express to each other. It's how love, it's how the all that is out through us. It experiences everything. It's so beautiful to think of it that way. And it's such a blessing to take part in it. But the experience of the solidness and concreteness, it's all within the one mind. It's so amazing. Because, and then it goes, I give everything all the meaning. Of course, we give all of that meaning, you know, all that we're experiencing. And of course, we can misperceive, of course, but what is misperceiving? The pure conscious awareness. And it gets to choose again over and over. But you know what shocked me, I do have to say, was I don't remember even ever reading that where it said that only part of it splits, so only part of it is concrete. And it's like there's a part of the all that is in this manifestation, but what can contain what we truly are, the magnificence, the wholeness of the all that is. So it's only partially experiencing this virtual video game. The thing is that in every part of it is the all that is, every single part of it, every molecule, every atom, every, you know, there's no separation. It's sort of a playground to experience love in the face of dark, right? He said, be a light in the face of dark. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, I'd like to speak.
Ariel, go ahead.
That's okay. First of all, I'd like to say that I studied the Course in Miracles for 10 years, and I studied it very deeply. And then I felt as though I had reached a certain place of comfort. And I had a wonderful teacher who was Mary Lou Cook in Santa Fe, and she was a great spiritual being. Is an incredible Course in Miracles being. But coming back to it, I've had the lessons coming into my email for years, you know, and just this year I decided, well, I think I'll do the lessons again, and I've been so deeply impressed with the lessons that we're studying right now, because I didn't perceive them on the level that I'm perceiving them now. So when I'm reading that my mind is a part of God's mind, and I dive in deep, like today we were told to just dive in deep and to sink below the levels of all of the thoughts, and there under in the deepest level is heaven.
Oh, nice.
That came as a surprise to me, because I don't remember ever hearing that before or experiencing that before. And I made tapes of the lessons, and I played the tapes every day, you know, for each lesson. I mean, I studied this, you know. So I'm feeling so moved to want to be with other people who have a clue. Because I'm right now I'm living in Tucson, and I'm in a RV park for seniors, and it's wonderful. It's a community of really good people, and we have a lot of fun together, and we do all kinds of different things. There's all kinds of things, and there's a group that's called Socrates, and it's a philosophical group. So I thought, well, that might be interesting. I'll try going to that. And when I did, I was basically shocked the topic of the topic for the meeting was miracles. So I go, oh, okay, I'm ready for that, you know. And I go in there, and the first thing everyone agreed to was that no one was going to mention God. Like, how do you separate God for miracles? I don't get that, you know. And then stories came out, and they were, you know, once in my life I saw a miracle when I was in the war, you know, or something like that. And I think so differently from most people because that's a training. The course is a training, and I took the training for 10 years, and I know that it's changed me. And yet coming back to it, I'm surprised how much I'm still able to change and see differently than I did when I studied prior. And I feel like the course just works on me. It works on all of us. I mean, it's a required course. The only thing that's not required is when you do it, you know. But I feel like it's such a tremendous gift, and I would like everyone to be able to receive that gift. And most people just aren't ready at all. But so I just think I want to start having a Course in Miracles group one day a week for an hour to read the book and see who comes to it, you know. And
I mean,
see,
this group, or you're going to have a group there?
I'm going to have an in-person sit down and read the book group. I've never done that before, but I studied that way myself when I first got into Course in Miracles, and it was at Mary Lou Cook's house in Santa Fe on Wednesdays at noon. And then we had several other groups meeting throughout the city. There were a couple that I would go to, but Mary Lou Cook's was my, and let me just tell you this about Mary Lou Cook. She was known as a Santa Fe living treasure, and she lived to be well into her 80s. And she had leukemia. She was diagnosed with leukemia somewhere, maybe she was 40. Yeah, I don't even know. But you'd never know that she had leukemia unless someone told you or she told you herself, because she was so lively and, you know. So when you ask her about that, she'd say, well, I decided to live as if I didn't have leukemia.
Wow, nice.
And she did. She lived her life as if she didn't have leukemia, although she didn't have it.
Wow.
She was a miracle in herself, in and of herself. And I was so fortunate to have her as a teacher. So now I think it's time for me to become a teacher of A Course in Miracles.
Good. We totally support you for doing that. That's great. Let us know how it goes.
Our Thursday night and our Sunday morning was all face to face. We used to do this just here in Omaha, and with the pandemic, it forced us into the Zoom. But the nice thing about the Zoom is then people from all over the country, all over the world. Actually, we had somebody from India last night. So last Thursday. So yeah, that, you know, it's more difficult to express yourself this way, but it's nice face to face. So good luck with that. And if you're in that Socrates group and they start walking around with a little tray with little cups of liquid, you might want to pass.
No, they don't do that. This is
That's a joke.
it's basically a philosophical conversation. But you're not allowed to use anything religious or political.
Okay.
He's doing a Kool-Aid joke. That's okay. You know,
I told them that, you know, I once met David Hawkins. I don't know if anyone has heard of David Hawkins, but he was another like incredible teacher. He was in Sedona, and I met him when he was well advanced in age, and he was just like this adorable imp. And but here's the thing, he would give, you know, seminar, you know, over a weekend, and people would come and like line up for miles to come and hear him speak. But always the first thing he would say was Gloria in excelsis Deo. And if that irritates you, or if that offends you, you're in the wrong room.
It's
No,
cute.
thank you. Let's go on to, let's see, paragraph 95. And Josie, can you read for us? It would start with everything the ego perceives is a separate whole.
Okay, everything the ego perceives is a separate whole without the relationships that imply being. The ego is thus against communication, except insofar as it is utilized to establish separateness rather than to abolish it. The communication system of the ego is based on its own thought system and is everything, as is everything else it dictates. Its communication is controlled by its need to protect itself, and it will disrupt communication when it experiences threat. While this is always so, individual egos perceive different kinds of threat, which are quite specific in their own judgment. For example, although all forms of perceived demands may be classified or judged by the ego as coercive communication, which must be disrupted. The response of breaking communication will nevertheless be to a specific person or persons. The only thing I would say here is this section, its communication is controlled by its need to protect itself, and it will disrupt communication when it experiences threat. I wonder what that means. It will disrupt its own communication. Not sure what that meant. Anybody know? Anybody say?
We have an example of that. Anna? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the ego is constantly projecting its content on outward, whether that be on an object or whether that be on a person. It's projecting content, and it is upside down and inverted from the holy mind. So in communication, it will create obstacles, and often the obstacles really don't exist, but the ego creates that obstacle to keep the love from flowing between the hearts. So it will create discord, it will create argument, it will use word salad to create confusion and chaos in the communication between the two hearts, because the ego is against love. It doesn't understand love. So any loving content is automatically disrupted by the ego through lack of understanding, complete and utter ignorance. And so oftentimes the ego will launch into utter nonsense. It will launch into judgment. It will launch into the past. So you could be talking about something completely in your present moment, and the ego will disrupt the conversation and bring up past content, bring up unforgiven content to keep us stuck and to keep us out of our hearts and disconnected from each other. That's my perception of how the ego communicates.
Thank you.
Thank you. That really explains it.
Would that, Anna, would that be because, I mean, would that be why some people are so embroiled in hatred? Racism, hatred, stuff like that, where you watch their actions and you can't sometimes as much hatred as I've seen in people, it's just boggles my mind that they can spend that kind of energy on something so negative. All right, so actually,
anything to keep us away from our hearts,
okay.
anything to keep love at a distance is the ego's premise.
Okay.
So that's its disruption, that's its judgment, that's its conflict. To keep us out of our hearts is the ego's. Well, it's not even I don't even think the ego necessarily has a goal. It just has a knee-jerk reaction to love. It backs off. It just wants to create chaos and judgment, to keep us from joining and remembering who we are.
Yeah.
And also to disrupt communication. I know that in the past when I feel threatened or threatened, and to keep myself safe, I will, in fact, when I was little, I remember I would say, I'm never talking to anyone again, ever, because I was so mortified. Something happened. I was so mortified. And I just said, I truly believe I would never going to talk to anyone again. And that was how I was going to protect myself. And fighting with my sibling, with my twin sister, not communicating was how I could hurt her. And I could protect myself too. I could just close down, break off communication, and hope that she would suffer. But I would suffer.
Could I add one comment to that?
Sure.
Excuse me. There was a late night host last night that made commented broadly, and I think this really fits what this point of the discussion is. This host says, it feels cooler to say I'm not woke than the truth, which is I'm terrified of what I don't understand, and I only know how to process that as anger because I can't look inward.
That was
And I think there's a lot of that and behind what Anna was describing.
wow.
We're afraid to, a lot of people are afraid to look inward, and the ego feeds that fear, because then you start to ask the questions that maybe bring change that you're insecure about. Just spitballing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Anna, can you read 96 for us, please? It starts with the specific, that word there of the ego's thinking.
Specificity.
Yeah.
Specificity.
Specificity. You know, I just love Jesus, the way he has the grasp of the English language. It just, when he can say but be, I'm all there. That's why I know this book's been channeled by Jesus, because nobody puts but be in a book. All right, Anna, 96, please.
The specificity. See, I didn't get it either. The specificity. I did. Yay. The specificity of the ego's thinking then results in a spurious kind of generalization, which is really not abstract at all. It will respond in certain specific ways to all stimuli which it perceives as related. In contrast, the soul reacts in the same way to everything it knows is true and does not respond at all to anything else. Nor does it make any attempt to establish what is true. It knows what is true is everything that God created. It is in complete and direct communication with every aspect of creation because it is in complete and direct communication with its creator.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So there is no reason for the holy mind to establish truth, because truth is a constant in creation. The truth never changes, right? So there's no reason. The ego has a tendency to constantly seek to explain itself, right? But the Holy Spirit uses direct revelation. And when we receive direct revelation, that means we receive the truth of love directly into our hearts. Words are not necessary, but to the ego must constantly seek to explain everything, explain it away, talk about it ad nauseum, really.
Yeah.
And it's really when we go within and we enter our hearts and we welcome the Holy Spirit that we receive revelation that is beyond all words, and revelation does not need explanation. So that's kind of what this says to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah.
Anybody else on paragraph 96? We'll move on if,
One thing it says, it is in complete and direct communication with every aspect of creation, because it is in complete and direct communication with its creator, the soul, right? So, when people say God doesn't know, that you doesn't know you are here, doesn't know that you exist, doesn't know about this. God is this, and it's in complete and direct communication with every aspect of creation. There's nothing, the all that is the all that is. It's the all that is. This is isness. And it appears as we want it to. We have the power to have it appear as we want it to appear. But what it is the all that is.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. What it is a water heater that we thought would last longer.
No, there's so many blessings that came out of that. Don't get me
Okay,
started.
all right.
All right.
Okay, Josie, can you read 97 then, please? It starts with, this communication is the will of God.
Oh, me again? Okay.
Is it Josie again? Are you sure?
Oh,
Oh, I don't mind.
sorry,
Wait.
I wrote it wrong.
It's who?
Okay, so let's
It's
do, okay, so Karen, can you read 97?
thanks.
Okay. Excuse me. This communication is the will of God. Creation and communication are synonymous. God created every mind by communicating his mind to it, thus establishing it forever as a channel for the reception of his mind and will. Since only beings of a like order can truly communicate, his creations naturally communicate with him and like him. This communication is perfectly abstract in that its quality is universal in application and not subject to any judgment, any exception, or any alteration. God created you by this and for this. The mind can distort its function, but it cannot endow itself with functions it was not given. That is why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, even though it may refuse to utilize it on behalf of being. That is why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, even though it may refuse to utilize it on behalf of being. Okay. Well, I love all this talk about the ego. And I don't know, all this talk about the mind now, all of a sudden it it makes me realize that I read a book on communicating with animals made easy, I think is what it was called. Because we communicate with our animals through what is the word I'm looking for? Intuition. And I feel like we're always communicating, even if it's not with words. Like I have been praying and meditating lately about what is my purpose. As I did this exercise a few times with groups of people where you just keep saying, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? And the other people will hear stuff and write it down. It's a very interesting process. But I keep doing it and I just hear love. That is our only purpose here, is to love. And to see the God in everybody that we love and to send that out. So that makes life much easier. and that is my way of communicating. I just like mentally send love to everybody.
I feel like when you love, it's effortless. And yet when you hate, it's a lot of energy. You have to build up, oh my God, the amount of energy you have to build up the hates. And then you have to bring other people in and say, oh, look, I'm a victim. Oh, be on my side. And oh, look, I've got all these people behind me telling me that that I'm right. And stuff like that. And it's just like, no, it's too much work. You get older, you can, you can barely get out of bed. Why would I want to spend energy hating people on a day in and day out? It's too much work.
It takes too much energy for sure.
It
Doesn't
sure
feel
does.
good.
And it doesn't
Doesn't
feel
feel good.
good. It feels like an allergic reaction, like a bee stung you and you've gotten, what is it when a bee stings you?
Ouch.
I don't know. What
Ouch. Yeah.
Anaphylactic reaction.
Yeah, Eric got it. Anaphylactic shock. So, Eric wins the word for the day. Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
5 syllables.
This is Anna, and I would like to point out something that I feel is truly inspirational in this paragraph. So this communication is the will of God. Creation and communication are synonymous.
Yeah.
This is an incredibly powerful statement, meaning that as we communicate, we're creating. What do we choose to communicate? If we choose to communicate the fear and despair of the ego, then we create egoic creations such as war, right? But if we choose to communicate love, we create beauty. And so many of us want to delete the created order of things. But if we could truly understand this, imagine the world we could create if we consistently were creating from love and communicating love. He says creation and communication are synonymous. The other really fantastic thing is the second sentence. God created every mind by communicating his mind to it, thus establishing it forever as a channel for the reception of his mind and will. At any given moment of our existence, we are a direct channel of our Father and his love and his creation. If we truly knew this, if we truly understood this, then we would see we are truly sons of God. We would remember who we are.
Thank you.
Can I add something to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because the Course in Miracles is a practical course. It states that. This week, because it was very cold early on, I had arthritis in my hands and it was killing me. I was in a lot of pain. And then I get very fearful when I'm in that kind of pain, thinking, oh my God, it's over for me, you know. Well, I thought to myself, wait a minute. I choose the joy of God instead of pain. It's lesson 90. I think, yeah, lesson, don't quote me on that, but it's one of the lessons. And I thought, let me sit down and read this lesson. By the time I was done with that lesson, I was totally pain-free. And this right here, since only beings of a like order can communicate, his creations naturally communicate with him and like him. But I wasn't communicating with him when I became fearful about this arthritic condition. The minute I chose to shift that perception and go to that workbook lesson, I swear to God, I'm pain-free. So I'm just throwing that in there.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
So
I've been doing the Course in Miracles for 30 years, and I think it's finally starting to sink in.
kind of like a Mercedes Benz, the older you get, the better it runs. Can you read paragraph 98, Paula, then,
Oh, great.
as a segue into?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Existence as well as being rests on communication. Existence, however, is specific in how, what, and with whom communication is judged to be worth undertaking. Being is completely without distinction, without these distinctions. It is a state in which the mind is in communication with everything that is real, including the soul. To whatever extent you permit this state to be curtailed, you are limiting your sense of your own reality, which becomes total only by your recognizing all reality in the glorious context of this real relationship to you. This is your reality. Do not desecrate it or recoil from it. It is your real home, your real temple, and your real self. How about that?
How about
How
that?
about that?
Wow. Wow.
That's exactly it.
You couldn't have said it better, Paula.
Goodness.
First you said it in your own words, and then you read it out of the book.
I'm telling you, Jesus, he knows his stuff.
He's a great guy. I mean, you know.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, his sense of humor must have been like
Can
top.
you imagine?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And then you know he would be with the disciples and he'd say, "What's today?" And they'd say Saturday. And he goes, "Let's go out and perform a miracle." And you know, everybody was lighting their hair on fire. Oh my God, he's doing something on the Sabbath. And he'd run around and play with the kids, and they'd ask him, "Why are you doing that?" And he's going like, "Well, I think they know more than you do." Okay, we're doing pretty good on time. We still got about 15 minutes and 4 paragraphs. Eric, can you read 99 for us, please? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Starts with God who encompasses all being. Oh boy.
God who encompasses all being, nevertheless created beings who have everything individually, but who want to share it to increase their joy. Nothing that is real can be increased except by sharing. That is why God himself created you. Divine abstraction takes joy in application, and that is what creation means. How, what, and to whom are irrelevant because real creation gives everything, since it can create only like itself. Remember that in being, there is no difference between having and being, as there is in existence. And the state of being, the mind gives everything always. So in terms of the world that we, the separated mind, of course, remember having means that sharing results in a loss. You give up something, hopefully in order to get something back, or that you that, or you withhold something because you don't want to lose any more of it. You know, one of the rules I constantly, or philosophies that I constantly embrace and remind myself is, you know, one of the many things that you can give away and always get more back of is love. There is an inexhaustible supply of that. And as long as you're willing to share it. And as I think Anna was talking about, you know, when you put it out there and you're creating by what you're saying and by what you're thinking, by communication, then we can continue to build on that. And that is what God did in creating us.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
I think I covered my thoughts. Let's leave room for other people.
Okay.
So is it fair to say that we are the embodiment of an act of God's communication? That because communication and creation are synonymous, that we are the embodiment, our soul, even this form, because there is nothing outside of God, right? I am a communication of God, right?
Right.
Isn't that cool? And we are
Beats-
little creators, right?
It beats being more
Imagine
than
our
a passing thought.
right?
Mm.
Well, our
You're-
thoughts, we
you're at-
communicate our thoughts, right? So I literally came into existence through Father communicating a thought. It's really extraordinary. Yeshua is mm, mm.
And we're co-creators because we communicate that love.
Yep. Yeah, and God loves us unconditionally, and he asks nothing in return at all. He asks, we don't have to sacrifice, we don't have to do penance, we don't have to, you know, there's nothing we have to do except to accept it.
Mhm.
You know, once we accept the love of God, the unconditional love of God, there we have nothing to do other than to extend it. So that's what we do. We're communicators. We do it with our mouth, vocally, and we write things down, and then other people read it, and we do it through song, and we do it through, you know, moving your hands around, and you know, some people pick up a gun and go halfway around the world and kill people and convince themselves that that's the right thing to do. And sorry, sorry. Okay, we're doing good still. Paragraph 100. Guess who gets to read
Okay.
paragraph 100?
Yay.
Joy, can you do
Well,
that for me?
any paragraph in this reading is such a blessing. It's so beautiful. But anyway, the Bible repeatedly states that you should praise God. This hardly means that you should tell him how wonderful he is. He has no ego with which to accept such thanks, and no perception with which to judge such offerings. But unless you take your part in the creation, his joy is not complete because yours is incomplete.
Mm.
And this he does know, right? And this he does know. He knows it in his own being and its experience of his son's experience. Ah, God. The constant going out of his love is blocked when his channels are closed, and he is lonely when the minds he created do not communicate fully with him. So the constant going out of his love is blocked when his channels are closed. And I can feel when that channel is closed, and that is so painful. And he's lonely when his mind's, he knows it in his own being and its experience of his son's experience. And that's what I think that's exactly what I was talking about earlier when I said that all that is experiencing through me. It is experiencing through us. And I heard recently, it was interesting, the idea of expansion. And I always thought, well, the all that is just whole now. And that's true. But the thing is, extension is eternal. It's never ending, the expansion of love, the expansion of being. And I think that's what we all do when we're here and we choose love instead of fear. We're expanding, that essence of being, it's so I'm blessed that this is my paragraph. I'm not brain dead this time. Because I really grok what it's saying, and I thank you. I'll open it up and if somebody else wants to share too.
Joy, did you just say you really grok it?
Yes, I did.
Wow, that's a phrase from the past. My goodness, I haven't heard that forever. How fun.
I know.
That's from A Stranger in a Strange Land,
That's right. That's
Robert Heinlein.
yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a teenage, what do you call it, beatnik or
Hippie.
hippie?
A big-
I was on the border of being a beatnik or a hippie. I was that,
Yeah.
it was that long ago.
There you go.
You two.
We were the hippie.
You're a hippie.
I'm a hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a flat in New York City, waterbed, and my American flag was upside down, and he almost had a cardiac arrest, but I was a love child,
Yeah. Yeah. When we
a
first
flower child.
when we first met, she told me she was at the I had a dream speech that Martin Luther King, and I
Wow.
I was thoroughly impressed, and she said, yeah, but we were selling acid out in the fringes. We
Oh.
didn't exactly go there for the
It was
speech.
mescaline,
Yeah.
and it was
Oh.
closing down Capitol, and after the invasion of Cambodia, we had to close down the Capitol. So that's. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah, I
digress.
fell in love right away.
I digress.
Okay, paragraph.
This is Anna. May I just highlight just one little piece?
Sure.
Yes.
I just think it's absolutely extraordinary that it is being stated that Father is lonely when my heart is closed and communication is cut off. That our Creator is lonely without us. How truly humble is that?
Mm. Mm.
We're talking the Creator of everything that
Mm.
is lonely when our hearts close down and we're not communicating.
Hmm.
That's a true Father. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point.
I don't think that means in an emotional way, though. Like if your child was away from you and you would be missing them in an emotion, there'd be emotional pain.
Oh, sure.
But I do really get that feeling of how deeply God loves us
Mhm.
and wants us to come home.
Yeah.
Come home.
Actually, just wake
Yes,
up.
it may.
It's kind of like wake up. You're already at home. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like something like
You're
that.
right.
When we go back there, we're gonna know that we never left. So.
I had a dream the other night where it was a crazy dream and all these terrible things were happening, and I couldn't find my way back to where I needed to go, and I lost my kitten and all these things happened, and I was so disturbed by the whole thing. And then all of a sudden in the dream, I said to myself, all you have to do is wake up. And I opened my eyes and the dream was gone.
Well,
All we have to do is wake up.
yeah, but if you say it twice,
Oh.
what happens then? You wake up to this, and then you want to wake up again, or
Yeah.
I apologize, folks. I'm going to have to drop. Everybody have a great week. Have a blessed week.
we'll see.
Thank you all for being
Bye.
together.
Okay, take
Bye
care.
now.
All right.
Oh, you're reading.
Paragraph 101.
Patty, just Patty.
I'm going to need to go too. I really have to. I've got to walk my dogs and it's getting dark.
Okay.
So,
take
That's
care.
absolutely fine.
thanks so much. I'll see you again next
Absolutely.
week.
All right.
Don't feel,
Bye.
And every-
anybody can drop off
Yeah,
at any
we,
time.
we strive to go to quarter of,
Yeah,
but anybody can leave
Yeah.
anytime.
all right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Uh,
Nice to have you.
So paragraph 101, God has kept your kingdom for you, but he cannot share his joy with you until you know it with your whole mind. Oh, even revelation is not enough because it is communication from God. It is not enough until it is shared. God does not need revelation returned to him, which would clearly be impossible, but he does want revelation brought to others. This cannot be done with the actual revelation because its content cannot be expressed, and it is intensely personal to the mind which receives it. It can, however, still be returned by that mind through its attitudes to other minds, which the knowledge from the revelation brings. Now, I would say this paragraph is the closest thing to evangelizing that I've ever seen. I mean, this book does not ask us, we don't have to do homework. We don't have to spend 3 years in a third world country. We don't have to, like I said, we don't have to do penance. We don't have to do confession. But this paragraph is asking us, if you have this revelation, go ahead and let other people know about it. But I mean, whenever I bring, there's been a few people over the years that when I was on the road for 12 years, there would be 1 or 2 people that you could actually talk to, without the wrong reaction. I mean, I've had that kind of reaction. I've had the kind of reaction where they understood exactly where I was coming from, and then we were able to communicate. As an example, right here on this call, Dennis was a worker in Madison, Wisconsin, and we would say hi in the hallways and stuff like that, but we never really, that was it. And then lo and behold, a couple contracts later, we both land in Minneapolis, and he comes to find out he's been going to what's the place in Wisconsin?
Endeavor Academy.
The Endeavor Academy out at, and the place was in, what's it called?
Wisconsin Dells.
Wisconsin Dells. So here we are, and we're in Minneapolis, and we're going to Course in Miracles groups together and talking about it. And it's the kind of sharing that you just know that if one of us on this call is talking to 2 people, those people are talking to 2 people, those 2 people are talking to 2 people, 2 people, 2 people. So you've got, I mean, it's not like we have to go door to door, and whoever answers the door, that's the one you're going to save for the day. I mean, it's not.
And I think it's the experience, Chris. It's not even what you say. When you were on the road, it was the experience of you, and you gave them that experience, and then they can turn around and give the experience to someone else. And I think it said that in the reading, it said what the revelation brings, and minds communicate out of that sense of being, the sense of love. You shared that experience.
Excuse me, but I do think you have to be ready to hear it and to receive it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I was at a point in my life where, believe me, I wasn't ready to hear it for a minute. But a friend of mine who I respected didn't hesitate to speak about Jesus at times. And at first it was like I was recoiling from that. But the more he did that, I'll tell you, it was really the beginning of my spiritual awakening. It was just, I was just ready to hear it. And he really wasn't even the one who, he just got me to listen. And from there, Jesus takes you by the hand, whether you know it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's that poem where there's 2 sets of footprints in the sand, And then there's only one set of footprints, and the guy tells God, that was when I needed you most, and you weren't with me. And he goes, oh, no, those are my footprints. I was carrying you.
Well, you know, the funny thing is when I needed it the most is when I actually received the Course in Miracles. I was desperate, and I was in a bookstore in New Hope, Pennsylvania,
Oh,
and
God.
looking, just looking for some sort of self-help. And the woman behind the counter handed me A Course in Miracles Through Forgiveness. And she said, I think you need this.
Wow.
And I said, I need something, because I mean, I was really at my wit's end. And
Wow.
I came home after that weekend, and my daughter had a cassette player, and I said, let me borrow that. And I listened to Course in Miracles Through Forgiveness, and I haven't turned back since. It was like, it just was exactly perfect for me. And the situation that was driving me crazy just literally,
It's all.
it just stopped.
Wow.
It just plain stopped. I no longer reacted to it. And I was able to help my father, because my mother had passed away, and my father was really rough and hard on me. And I was able to cope with him until he passed through this world. And there's nothing like this, but you've got to be ready for it. Because honestly, if somebody said, you need the Course in Miracles, you know, I wouldn't, it had to unfold that way for me. Okay, that's enough for me.
One of
Thanks.
our co-founders, Tom Whitmore, his story is that he was in a bookstore, and the Course of Miracles fell off onto the floor, and he picked it up.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, I had to be blessed to know Joy. I learned the course when Joy's been doing it since the 80s. So then when we got together in the early 2000s, then she had already been at it for quite a while. And I started reading this book, and as I grew up, my story is as I grew up, I would have answers without questions, and I'd have questions without answers. And it just seemed like every time I turned the page, all my questions and all my answers would just fold together, just like this. And it was like, wow, this is like, okay, here's a question. There's the answer. Oh, look, there's the answer. I've always had this question. And it was just, it's just been an awesome, what, 20 years now? 22, 21, 23.
I still, when I'm disturbed about something, I just open the book and it addresses it. It just addresses it. So
Sometimes
it's a wonderful
take the
thing.
book and just drop it on the binder and let it open up and read whatever the page is gonna stop, that's gonna be what you need.
Yeah.
We've got one more paragraph. Patty, do you mind reading
No, not
102?
Patty.
No,
Patty wasn't gonna
okay. I'll take another volunteer. Josie, oh, go ahead, Joe. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, that's what I did wrong.
yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
God is praised whenever any mind learns to be wholly helpful. This is impossible without being wholly harmless, because the two beliefs coexist. The truly helpful are invulnerable because they are not protecting their egos, so that nothing can hurt them. Their helpfulness is their praise of God, and He will return their praise of Him, because they are like Him, and they can rejoice together. God goes out to them and through them, and there is great joy throughout the kingdom. Every mind that is changed adds to this joy with its own individual willingness to share in it. The truly helpful are God's miracle workers, whom I direct until we are all united in the joy of the kingdom. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly helpful, and to whoever can follow my guidance through you.
Wow.
Right on. That's what I say.
Wow.
And I've had experiences of that in my life where I was directed, and part of me didn't want to believe it. When I was being directed to go to Fairfield, Iowa, and that was how I was being directed, is go to Fairfield, Iowa. And I was like, no, I'm not going to Fairfield, Iowa. I'm going to go to my sister's during Thanksgiving. That's where I'm going. Total ego. And it's like, no, Fairfield. I was like, okay, I'm going to call over to Fairfield and see what's up. So I call over there to a sister-in-law who had taken her daughter there to see a healer. And when I called her, she said, oh, I'm so glad you called. We need you. We need to help drive our bus with Sarah, who was dying of cancer at the age of 18, back to Oregon. I said, well, I'm your girl. Come pick me up. And off we went.
Wow.
So, it's how we're being directed. And it's when we're open. And I realize at times, it's almost like the ego part of myself wanted to be in disagreement and to argue even with the direction. But it comes through so strongly that I just had to listen. I had to go where I was being directed. And that's the beauty of when we're open. And so that's my story about an experience I've had in my life.
Wow.
Where I was directed and directed daily through my asking of how can I best serve you, God, today? Where do I need to go? How can I be the disciple for you? And that's what I asked for when I woke up this morning. How can I be of service?
Wow.
So I'm complete. Thank you.
That was so absolutely perfect, Joe, because as we wind down, I was wondering, what prayer would I do? And I was thinking, I bless you, my brother. And then I had previously thought of the prayer that is in tomorrow's reading. And it's my favorite of all time prayer. And when you brought your share up, it said, see, that's it. That's the one, so
Just one second.
yeah.
Joe, you are going to believe this. I called on Josie twice, and you were supposed to read the fourth paragraph. And I had Joe, and then I thought, oh, that's not right. It's SEY. So then when I called on Josie twice, then it messed up the whole lineup. So you ended up getting to the bottom, so you could read 102.
Yep.
That's what it was. It wasn't.
Isn't that cool?
It's not my fault. I was guided to move you to the bottom. Anyway, okay.
It's all perfect.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Go
okay,
ahead, Joy.
so
We're gonna end with a prayer, and then
Yep.
everybody will just see you all next week. Where's she going?
Okay,
Do
I
you
have
need a
this.
prop?
I have
Oh, you
this.
need a
I can
prop.
send this
Okay, all right.
to you. You probably
Yeah,
can't
you
see
can't
it.
see it.
You can see
Oh, there you
it's set to
go.
a beautiful background. I can send it. I'll send it to you guys. But anyway, so we'll close our eyes and imagine that you're holding one another's hand, because this is tonight. Well, it's a communion. Okay, and we've given this beautiful, exquisite prayer. And this is the prayer. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Christ who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. Namaste.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. Please be safe and stay warm and bless yourself and bless others, and just bask in the knowledge that God loves us all unconditionally. And we'll see whoever we see next Thursday. All right.
Next week.
All right, good
Good
night.
night.
Good night,
Good night.
Have a great week.
everybody. Thank you. No more.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank
Oh,
you for
you're
You
coming.
two,
Thank you.
you two are just beautiful. You're beautiful. It's so good to see your face, Recha.
Oh, thank you, Anna. I'm so,
I love you.
I love you
We
so
love
much.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Nice, nice, nice. Hey, you know,